Hey there YouTube, it's me, the Satanic Wiccan, and today I'm here to talk to you about the Wiccan reads. So there are two major Wiccan reads, and they're the ones that I'm going to be talking to you about today. So before I start, I just want to make a disclaimer, and I know some Wiccans won't agree with this, but I do. So I think that every single scripture is man-made. I don't believe there's any secret, hidden, holy writings that is made from any god or anything like that, simply because I don't believe in a god and a goddess or any higher power that's conscious. So that kind of rules out, for me, the idea that there's some ancient and secret read. So now that that's done, I'm going to talk about them. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk to you about is "Do as thou will, as long as thou shalt harm none," which is will often just called the harm none read. Now, this is a nice read to live by, you know. It's like, if you can harm no one, then you're pretty much the perfect person in the world. So it's a nice read to live by. However, for me personally, I don't make it an indoctrine, simply because A, it goes against nature, and B, it's just not practical, which is sad in a way, but we live in a very dark world. And so, like, I certainly try not to harm people in any way, shape or form. But for example, I'm not gonna say not go for a job interview, because I know that if I get it and someone else doesn't, then that'll be causing harm on them. But again, it's up to how you define harm, because if you just view harm as the body and the spirit, it's not really harming. But if you view it as the mind, body and spirit, then it's not practical, because, like, let's face it, you've got to put yourself out there in life, and sometimes to move forward you've got to put other people down, which is a sad thing. But again, we live in a sad world. But don't get me wrong, I try to harm people as little as I can, but sometimes you just have to. And it goes against nature in a way, because if you look at the animal kingdom, to survive, unfortunately, harming is part of the kingdom. Like, you can't just expect the lion to not kill a deer. It needs to feed its family. You know, like, in order to survive, it needs to cause harm to another being. And since animals are the true obeyers of nature, and they, for me, represent nature, and in the animal kingdom there's harming, then unfortunately for me that means that sometimes harming is necessary. So I just think it's a good life motto to live by, but it can be taken too far. Now, the second read I wanted to talk to you about is "Whatever you give in, you get back times 3. And there are lots of ways to interpret this. The extremist way to interpret it is that every time you do bad to nature or to someone else, then that's just going to come back to you times 3, and you're going to suffer 3 times the amount that you made someone else suffer. So in that sense, it's a form of karma, and as much as I wish it was true, it's just not. Sorry, I forgot to mention something. it can also work the other way round. So if you do good to someone else, then that will come back times 3. So, sorry, anyway, let's move on. And so I just don't think that's a very practical ideology, because I'd love it to be true, but it's just not, because there are plenty of people who have caused harm to others, and they've had fantastic lives, like Hitler gassed millions of Jews to death in a painful way, and he died by a peaceful, painless death. So it doesn't really work in that sense. Another way of interpreting it is that whatever you do will affect your mind, body, and spirit. Now, in this, I do agree to some extent, because I think that, like, that everything you do affects those 3 things in some way, shape, or form. So, like, if you make a mistake, it's gonna it could hurt you mentally, and you could be depressed about it, so that's where the mind comes in, and your spirit is just your overall, so your overall being is affected. But if you're just an evil person who doesn't give a fuck about who you harm, then it doesn't really apply. So again, I have my own interpretation of it. Well, I think it means not as far as morality goes, because I'm a very naturistic person, and unfortunately I just don't think that morality is part of nature, because too many bad things happen to good people, and good things often happen to the worst people. So anyway, my interpretation of this is that as far as effort goes, so like, take exercising for example. If you do sit-ups, push-ups every day, it's going to put stress on your body, but you're going to get rewarded for it, and the reward is going to be times 3. So like, having a 6-pack, like, is worth the effort times 3, if that makes sense. So I believe in that. And like, if you harm yourself in some way, and you might enjoy doing it, but ultimately the punishment will be 3 times worse, if that makes sense. And I also think that, like, if you're a very lazy person and put no effort into doing anything, then that's also going to come back at you and bite you in the ass times 3. So yeah, I hope that makes sense to you. So there are lots of different ways of interpreting it, and this is just my interpretation, so I'm not trying to convert anyone or anything. So let me know in the comments what your interpretations are, and if you have any questions, video requests, then please let me know. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hail Satan and blessed be.